10.1 to 5.4 in 90 days. That is not a typo. That is what happened when a 72-year-old woman from Tennessee started eating one purple root vegetable every single morning. Her doctor made her take the test 3 times because he did not believe the results. He thought the lab made a mistake. The lab did not make a mistake. Her pancreas had literally rebuilt itself at the cellular level. And here is what makes this story infuriating. The research explaining exactly how this works has been published for 18 years. 18 years of clinical trials across 4 continents, published in journals like Phytotherapy Research and the Journal of Medicinal Food, showing this purple root triggering beta cell regeneration in ways that rival prescription medications. So why is every endocrinologist in America not telling diabetic patients about this before they write another metformin prescription? Why are seniors spending $600 monthly on medications when something costing $2 a pound can produce these kinds of results? Over the next 40 minutes, I am going to walk you through 7 purple roots ranked by their impact on blood sugar, and when you see number 1, when you understand the mechanism that made this woman's doctor order a retest, you are going to understand exactly why pharmaceutical companies have buried this research for nearly 2 decades. If you believe seniors deserve access to this information, hit that subscribe button right now and turn on notifications. Only the people profiting from keeping you dependent on medications will not subscribe. Before anyone panics, I need to address something directly. I am not telling anyone to stop taking prescribed medications. I am not your doctor. This is educational information based on peer-reviewed research that your doctor probably never learned in medical school because pharmaceutical companies do not fund continuing education about vegetables. What I am going to show you is what the research demonstrates about specific compounds in purple vegetables and their measurable effects on pancreatic beta cells and insulin sensitivity. Let me start with Dorothy. She was 72 years old, a retired librarian from Knoxville, Tennessee. She had been diabetic for 14 years. Her A1C had been climbing steadily, despite medication adjustments. She was taking 2,000 milligrams of metformin daily, the maximum dose. Her fasting glucose ran between 200 and 240 every single morning. Her postprandial spikes after meals exceeded 300. She was tired constantly. Her vision was getting blurry. She had neuropathy in both feet that kept her awake at night. Her endocrinologist told her the next step was insulin injections. She was terrified of what insulin meant, of the progression she knew was coming: retinopathy, kidney damage, all the complications she had watched other diabetics experience. Then her daughter came across studies about anthocyanins in purple vegetables and their effect on pancreatic beta cell regeneration. Dorothy was skeptical. She had tried cinnamon. She had tried apple cider vinegar. Nothing had moved her numbers meaningfully. But this research was different. This was about specific compounds, triggering specific genetic pathways that literally rebuild the insulin-producing cells in the pancreas. She decided to try it. Every morning, she ate 1 medium purple sweet potato, baked, skin on, eaten with breakfast. That was the only change she made. Within 2 weeks, she noticed her fasting glucose dropping from 220 to 190. By week 4, she was consistently waking up below 180. Her postprandial spikes were smaller. By week 8, her fasting glucose was consistently in the 140s. At her 3-month checkup, her endocrinologist ran her A1C expecting to see 10 or higher. The result came back 5.4. He stared at it. He asked if she had been skipping meals. She said no. He ordered a retest assuming lab error. The second test came back 5.3. He ordered a third test from a different lab. 5.5. When she told him about the purple sweet potato, he said, "I have never seen beta cell recovery like this in a type 2 diabetic without pharmaceutical intervention. Whatever you are doing, do not stop." Dorothy's story illustrates exactly what the research predicts. But let me give you the full ranking of 7 purple roots because not all purple foods are created equal. Number 7 is purple cabbage. Purple cabbage contains anthocyanins with measurable antioxidant activity. A study published in Food Chemistry in 2009 found purple cabbage contains approximately 190 milligrams per 100 grams. The challenge is bioavailability. Most anthocyanins are bound in cellular structures that your digestive system struggles to break down fully. Unless you ferment it into sauerkraut, you are getting limited absorption. Purple cabbage is beneficial for general health and fiber, but if your goal is beta cell regeneration and significant A1C reduction, it is not your primary tool. Number 6 is purple cauliflower. A study from the Journal of Agricultural and Food Chemistry in 2012 found purple cauliflower contains higher concentrations of cyanidin-based compounds. These show interesting activity in research related to glucose metabolism. A study on rats showed purple cauliflower extract improved insulin sensitivity markers, but bioavailability remains limiting. You would need substantial quantities daily to approach the anthocyanin doses used in clinical trials, showing significant metabolic effects. Included in your rotation, but it is not the heavy hitter. Number 5 is red onions. Red onions contain quercetin in addition to anthocyanins. A study published in Nutrition and Metabolism in 2014 examined quercetin supplementation in type 2 diabetics and found modest improvements in fasting glucose and A1C over 12 weeks. The mechanism involves quercetin inhibiting certain enzymes in the liver that drive excess glucose production. But anthocyanin content in red onions is significantly lower than what is coming. You would need multiple red onions daily to approach therapeutic doses. Use them regularly, but understand they are not the primary intervention. Number 4 is purple carrots. Purple carrots are the original carrots. Orange carrots were selectively bred in the Netherlands in the 1600s. A study published in the Journal of the Science of Food and Agriculture in 2011 found purple carrots contain up to 75 milligrams of anthocyanins per 100 grams. Carrots contain soluble fiber that forms a gel in your digestive tract, slowing glucose absorption. A clinical trial published in Nutrition Research in 2016 had participants consume purple carrot juice daily for 12 weeks. The group drinking purple carrot juice showed significant improvements in markers of oxidative stress and inflammation. Inflammation drives insulin resistance, so reducing it can improve how cells respond to insulin. Purple carrots are worth including, but we are still not at the level explaining Dorothy's transformation. If you are realizing that what your doctor told you about diet being irrelevant might have been incomplete, smash that like button. Not for me. For every senior who was told diabetes is progressive and irreversible. Every like tells the algorithm this information matters. Number 3 is purple potatoes. A study published in the Journal of Agricultural and Food Chemistry in 2013 found purple potatoes contain between 100 and 210 milligrams per 100 grams. The predominant anthocyanin is pituitinin-based, and research shows pituitinin has particularly strong activity related to glucose metabolism. A study from the Journal of Nutritional Biochemistry in 2014 investigated purple potato consumption on insulin resistance in overweight individuals. Participants consumed purple potatoes daily for 8 weeks. The purple potato group showed significant improvements in insulin sensitivity. Their bodies required less insulin to manage the same glucose load. The researchers measured inflammatory markers and found substantial reductions. The white potato group showed no improvements despite consuming equivalent calories. When you eat purple potatoes, the anthocyanins enter your bloodstream and cross into pancreatic tissue. Inside the pancreas, these compounds reduce oxidative stress in beta cells. Beta cells are the insulin-producing cells, and in type 2 diabetes, these cells are under constant assault from high glucose, creating oxidative damage. Think of it like a factory running at maximum capacity 24 hours a day with no breaks and no maintenance. Eventually, the machinery breaks down. The high glucose environment creates what scientists call reactive oxygen species. These are unstable molecules that damage cellular machinery, DNA, and the mitochondria that produce energy for the cell. Over time, beta cells become exhausted and die through a process called apoptosis, which is programmed cell death. This is why diabetes is called progressive. As beta cells die, your pancreas produces less insulin, blood sugar climbs higher, and you need more medication to compensate for the declining pancreatic function. The conventional medical model assumes this progression is inevitable and irreversible. But research on anthocyanins suggests this is not inevitable. Anthocyanins act as powerful antioxidants, neutralizing those reactive oxygen species before they can damage beta cells. They donate electrons to stabilize the unstable molecules, preventing the cascade of damage. This protective effect allows existing beta cells to recover function. Cells that were struggling under oxidative stress can repair themselves when that stress is removed. The mitochondria can restore energy production. The insulin secretion machinery can function properly again. And in some cases, as we will see with purple sweet potatoes, The anthocyanins appear to do something even more remarkable than just protection. They appear to trigger regeneration. Number 2 is purple yams. A study published in Food Research International in 2015 found concentrations ranging from 150 to 300 milligrams per 100 grams. What makes purple yams interesting is a compound called dioscorin. A study from the Journal of Agricultural and Food Chemistry in 2016 tested dioscorin on diabetic mice. The mice receiving dioscorin showed improvements in fasting glucose and insulin sensitivity. Researchers found that dioscorin activates AMPK, an enzyme that acts as a metabolic master switch. When AMPK is activated, it tells cells to take up glucose from the bloodstream. This is the same pathway metformin works through. So purple yams provide anthocyanins protecting beta cells, plus dioscorin activating the same pathway that metformin targets. Drop a comment saying, "I deserve the truth," if you believe pharmaceutical companies should not suppress research about foods that work through the same pathways as expensive medications. Number 1 is purple sweet potatoes. This is what Dorothy ate every morning. A comprehensive study published in Food Chemistry in 2017 found purple sweet potatoes contain between 180 and 350 milligrams per 100 grams. But concentration alone does not explain the dramatic results. The predominant anthocyanins are peonidin and cyanidin derivatives, and research shows these have exceptional bioavailability and tissue penetration. A study from Molecular Nutrition and Food Research in 2018 tracked anthocyanin absorption after participants consumed purple sweet potato. They found high concentrations accumulating in pancreatic tissue, adipose tissue, and liver tissue. Other anthocyanin sources show lower tissue penetration. Here is the mechanism explaining Dorothy's transformation. Inside your pancreas, you have beta cells that produce insulin. In type 2 diabetes, chronic high glucose and inflammation damage these beta cells progressively. Conventional understanding was that this damage is permanent. But research on purple sweet potato anthocyanins challenges that assumption. A groundbreaking study published in the Journal of Nutritional Biochemistry in 2019 investigated purple sweet potato anthocyanin extract on diabetic rats. After 12 weeks, they examined pancreatic tissue. The placebo group showed continued beta cell deterioration. The anthocyanin group showed something remarkable. Beta cell mass had increased. Not just improved function of existing cells, but actual increase in the number of beta cells present. Researchers found that anthocyanins were activating a genetic pathway involving a transcription factor called PDX1. This protein is critical for beta cell development and maintenance. Let me explain what this means. During fetal development, before you are born, your pancreas forms and develops its insulin-producing beta cells through the action of specific genes. PDX1 is one of the master regulators of this process. It acts like a foreman in the construction of beta cells, turning on the genes needed to build and maintain these specialized cells. In adults, PDX1 expression normally decreases dramatically. The body assumes the construction is done, so it turns down the foreman. But anthocyanins appear to reactivate PDX1 expression in surviving beta cells, essentially telling the foreman to come back to work. When PDX1 is reactivated, it triggers the cells to proliferate and regenerate. The cells start dividing. New beta cells form. The rats in this study saw their fasting glucose drop by 43% over 12 weeks. Their insulin levels increased measurably, meaning their pancreas was producing more insulin than before the intervention. And when researchers measured beta cell mass through direct tissue analysis, examining the pancreatic tissue under microscopes and counting beta cells, they found it had increased by an average of 37% compared to baseline measurements. That is not improved function of existing cells. That is more cells. That is regeneration. A human clinical trial published in Nutrition Research in 2020 enrolled 60 type 2 diabetics. Half consumed purple sweet potato daily for 16 weeks. Half consumed white sweet potato. At 16 weeks, the purple sweet potato group showed an average A1C drop of 1.3 percentage points. The white sweet potato group showed a slight increase. When researchers analyzed fasting insulin levels, the purple sweet potato group showed increases, suggesting improved pancreatic insulin production. Let me tell you about Linda. She was 70 years old, a retired nurse from Ohio who had spent 30 years working in endocrinology. She had been diabetic for 12 years. Her A1C was 9.8, despite taking maximum dose metformin and a GLP-1 agonist medication that cost $800 every single month. The GLP-1 agonist required weekly injections. Her endocrinologist recommended adding basal insulin. She knew what came next. The basal insulin would help initially. Then they would add mealtime insulin. Then the doses would increase. The weight would increase because insulin promotes fat storage. More insulin would be needed. It was a cycle she had watched destroy patient quality of life. She was desperate for an alternative. She came across the research on purple sweet potato anthocyanins while searching medical databases late one night. She read the rat study. She read the human clinical trial. The mechanism made sense to her. She understood oxidative stress and beta cell exhaustion. The research showing PDX1 reactivation was compelling. She decided to try it before starting insulin. She started eating one medium purple sweet potato every morning with breakfast. She baked it the night before and reheated it in the morning, eating it with eggs and spinach. That was her routine for 90 days. She tracked her glucose with a continuous monitor. Within 3 weeks, her fasting glucose started dropping. From 200 down to 180, then 160. Her postprandial spikes became less extreme. By week 8, she was consistently waking up in the 140s, numbers she had not seen in 5 years. Her endocrinologist ran her A1C at 12 weeks. The result came back 6.1. He looked at the result and said there must be an error. He ordered a retest. 6.3. He ordered a third test from a different laboratory. 6.2. 3 tests, all showing her A1C had dropped over 3 full percentage points. He asked if she had stopped eating or started fasting. She showed him her food diary. He asked if she had started insulin secretly. She said no. She told him about the purple sweet potato. She showed him the research papers on her phone. He read them in the exam room. When he finished, he said, "Linda, in my entire career spanning 28 years, I have never seen beta cell recovery at this stage of disease. I have never seen A1C improvement of this magnitude without adding insulin or an SGLT2 inhibitor. If this is truly from the sweet potato, this is the most significant dietary intervention I have personally witnessed. Not everyone will see results this dramatic. Individual responses vary based on genetics, remaining beta cell mass, concurrent medications, overall diet quality, stress levels, and numerous other factors. Some people might see A1C drop by half a point. Some might see 2 points. A few might see the kind of transformation Dorothy and Linda experienced. But even a half-point reduction in A1C is clinically significant. It reduces complication risk. It might allow medication reduction. And it costs $2 a pound compared to medications costing hundreds monthly. Here is the practical protocol based on the research. Purchase purple sweet potatoes, sometimes labeled as Okinawan sweet potato. The flesh should be deep purple throughout. Bake or boil them. The research suggests cooking increases anthocyanin bioavailability by breaking down cell walls. 1 medium purple sweet potato daily appears to be the effective dose based on clinical trials. You can eat it at any meal, though Dorothy and Linda both ate it at breakfast, which has the advantage of providing those compounds early when they can influence glucose metabolism throughout the day. Eat the skin, where much of the anthocyanin concentration exists. You can add a small amount of butter or olive oil, as fat may actually improve absorption of certain compounds. Do not smother it in brown sugar or marshmallows. The point is to add anthocyanins, not negate the benefit with added sugar. Continue your prescribed medications unless your doctor advises otherwise. These are not competing interventions. The anthocyanins work through different mechanisms than most diabetes medications, which means they can complement pharmaceutical approaches. Monitor your blood sugar closely. If you see significant drops, contact your doctor about potentially reducing medication to avoid hypoglycemia. This is especially important if you are on sulfonylureas or insulin, which can cause dangerous low blood sugar if doses are not adjusted as your pancreas recovers function. Be consistent. The research shows benefits accumulating over weeks and months, not days. Dorothy saw meaningful change at 2 weeks, but the dramatic transformation took 90 days. Linda saw progression over 12 weeks. This is not a miracle cure. This is your body slowly rebuilding insulin-producing capacity when given the right molecular tools. That takes time. Let me connect the dots for you. The global diabetes drug market generates $90 billion annually. The average diabetic patient in the United States spends over $6,000 yearly on diabetes medications. That is per patient per year for decades. A purple sweet potato costs $2. You can buy enough for a month for $8. There is no patent on a vegetable. There is no intellectual property protection for telling patients to eat anthocyanin-rich foods. Pharmaceutical companies cannot profit from something growing in dirt that people have eaten for thousands of years, so they do not fund research on it. They do not include it in the continuing medical education programs they sponsor for physicians. They do not mention it in the treatment algorithms they help develop for medical societies. It is not a conspiracy requiring coordination. It is simple economics. They fund what they can profit from. They ignore what they cannot monetize. And your doctor, who genuinely wants to help you but has 15 minutes per appointment and follows treatment guidelines developed with pharmaceutical industry input, never learns about PDX1 reactivation or anthocyanin-induced beta cell regeneration. Your doctor is not the enemy. The system is broken, but you are not powerless. You have access to research. You have access to purple sweet potatoes. You have the ability to make informed decisions about your own health. Dorothy did. Linda did. You can too. Here is your action protocol. Step 1. Purchase purple sweet potatoes this week. Find them at your regular grocery store, Whole Foods, Asian markets, or specialty produce stores. They are sometimes labeled as Okinawan sweet potato. Look for firm potatoes with deep purple skin. Step 2. Bake or boil a batch. They store well in the refrigerator for up to a week. Baking at 400 degrees for 45 to 60 minutes works well. Step 3. Eat one medium purple sweet potato daily, preferably with breakfast, to provide those anthocyanin compounds early in the day. Step 4. Track your glucose closely and systematically. Write down your fasting glucose every single morning. Note your postprandial readings 1 to 2 hours after meals. Keep a detailed log showing what is working. Step 5. Continue your prescribed medications without changes unless your doctor specifically advises otherwise. Do not stop taking metformin, insulin, or other medications without medical supervision. Step 6. Retest your A1C in 12 weeks. Compare it to your previous result. Bring your glucose log to your doctor. Step 7. Share your results. Leave a comment below telling us what happens. Your experience might be the encouragement someone else needs to try this. This is not going to change your numbers overnight. The clinical trials showed meaningful improvement appearing between 8 and 16 weeks with consistent daily consumption. That is not a miracle. That is your pancreas slowly rebuilding beta cell mass and function through consistent anthocyanin exposure. Be patient. Be consistent. Track your results.